Okay, so Agile as a methodology which gets principles and then a set of practices following that. What else? Can we get more specific? Continuous integration, yes. I'm looking for a specific answer. I can spend all 45 minutes waiting for that answer. So you guys have to help me move along. So you're on the right track, continuous integration in certain ways, but we need more specific. Sorry? Feedback in what forms? Okay, fair point. You look like you have something on the tip of your tongue. Yeah, but what enables it? One of the things. Oh, never mind, you guys didn't have coffee, you don't know the answer. It is test automation. It's one of the practices I'm saying, okay? Not the practice, it's one of the practices. To enable continuous integration, quick feedback, continuous delivery, performance engineering, various aspects, right? One of the practices is automation, which makes teams successful. Let's go on the other side. One of the practices which makes teams unsuccessful, very easy to flip the coin. Sorry? No test automation. That's completely not what I expect. It is test automation. So test automation can make the team successful, it can make the teams unsuccessful. Why? Solve the wrong problem? Design poorly? Limit what? Limit ourselves to the scripts and we think that is the holy grail. If that script is passing, everything is passing, right? Various reasons. Bottom line is, test automation is code. It has to be designed in that fashion, treated with that respect. Only then it will give the kind of response and feedback to the teams that will make it successful or non-successful. And all these aspects you spoke about are parts of making that successful or determining if it is not. So what really is test automation though? Making your life easier in what way? Faster regression of functionalities? Yeah? In what way? Again, it's faster, so it's tied to the same thing then. Repeatability, that's an important aspect. But what does it really do for you? Sorry, what about manual? So you're saving on the manual, repeated, boring kind of efforts, which becomes error prone eventually. We are humans, right? We are trying to reduce that. So if we try to equate that with what really automation is, it is nothing but a safety net for the team. A safety net, if those who have done fishing or know about fishing, a net, fishing net, you would use the grid size, the net size, based on what type of fish you want to catch. You wouldn't use a fishing net with wide grid to catch small fish. Fishes are going to escape. Likewise, doesn't make sense to use a grid with small, or net with very small grid size to catch big fish. It's not required. You'll catch a lot of noise in that, which is not your intent. You have to filter through a lot of that junk in that sense, right? So automation is a safety net. What is the kind of feedback you are expecting as a team for potential issues? You need to design your automation based on that. You need to identify your test, your intent, what is to be validated based on that. It is very important aspect. How many of us have heard about a test automation pyramid? It's early, we can move around a little bit. Anyone has heard about the automation pyramid? I can see some shakes, some nods. Let's say you have not, for that matter. Benefit of doubt. Okay? Can we get some coffee for everyone? So the test automation pyramid was a concept introduced by Mike Cohn in his book Succeeding with Agile a long time ago. Martin Fowler, one of the founding fathers of the Agile Manifesto, has blogged in very simple, beautiful terms. That's a great skill he has to explain what the test automation pyramid is. I'm going to take 1% of that explanation and try to put that concept out for everyone. What the pyramid says, pyramid by definition is a triangle, equilateral triangle, right? The base of the pyramid is wide, the tip is pretty lean in that sense. What the pyramid says, there are various different types of tests you can have for your product that you are validating against, that you're building for that matter. And these types of tests can be of different forms: unit, integration, JavaScript, view tests, web service tests, UI tests. There could be various forms of tests depending on the type of product you are testing. If the product does not have a UI interface, there is no UI test, it's fine. It's a representational thing. But what this means is that these are all tests that you would want to automate in terms to get the quick feedback for the team, right? Also, what it means is you can focus with the correct amount of automation effort. You can focus on the right type of manual and exploratory testing on the system, because not everything can be or should be automated in that perspective, right? If you think about, if you get limited, as we heard earlier, limited by the type of scripts we automate, issues are still going to flow through. Look and feel kind of thing, gut feel kind of scenarios or test cases, we have to validate manually in an exploratory fashion, different combinations, different scenarios, to make sure the complete picture is well known to us, okay? Now what the pyramid also indicates is 3 arrows going up. Can anyone guess what it means? Sorry? Risk in what terms? Interesting dimension, but no, that's not what the test automation pyramid indicates. In what ways? That's debatable, because again, it is very context based on the product and the technology stack that you're using to do all that automation, okay? So there are 3 things that happens on a test automation pyramid over time, or for any SDLC cycle. Cost increases, time, the value of those tests, that is changing, and the time taken to execute those tests is changing. What this means is, and I'm not going to get into too much detail about this, I'll be talking more about the pyramid tomorrow in my talk, to deploy or not to deploy. But in a nutshell, what this means is, as you go from bottom of the pyramid to top of the pyramid, the cost required to build those unit tests or implement those tests keeps on growing up. Why? Because unit tests are validating granular pieces of product functionality. As you keep going up the pyramid, you have to get more and more of the product built and compiled and deployed or installed in specific environments with specific integration points, database, so many things, in order to get to the top level of UI testing. Okay? So time, value, cost, and value again, it comes in terms of effort and various other dimensions, right? I've simplified it over here. But that's what the pyramid really says. If you look at reality though, things are very different. And I want you to introspect without closing your eyes, since you've not had coffee again. What really is happening on your products? When I look at it, based on my past experiences, based on my colleagues and friends' experiences, I see 2 typical anti-patterns come out of the pyramid implementation. The first one is very well documented. A very close friend, a colleague, he's documented, Alistair Scott, he's documented the ice cream cone anti-pattern. Can anyone guess what that is? Ice cream cone. It's a cone. Means the pyramid is inverted. What does it mean? We've got the same type of tests, but look at the number of tests that should be there to make the automation effective. We've got least number of unit tests, a little more integration, little more JavaScript, little more view, little more web service, a lot of UI. How many of us are in this situation where we've got a lot of UI tests, very less unit test coverage? Anyone been through those situations? What happens with those kind of tests, UI tests? Right? So the cost, if we equate it to the earlier manifestations of the pyramid or where you automate, it starts becoming obvious. As a result, what happens in your teams? Because of the cost and the issues that come up, what happens? That's a potential way to solve the problem, right? Reduce the number of tests. Time to delivery increases. Is that really possible? Would you tell your business owner or product owner that, sorry, we are going to need more time because our tests are flaky. Our tests are not giving the right results. So as a result, what happens? You end up spending much more effort in manual testing, even though you have invested so much in automation, UI automation, because it's not giving the right feedback. Right feedback in the right amount of time. Okay? That is one classic anti-pattern. It becomes an ice cream cone. The cone is the automation, and the ice cream is overflowing. The more you keep it around, the ice cream starts melting and flowing all the way around. Eventually, the cone disappears. It just melts away. It's just manual testing remaining there. One anti-pattern. Okay? Second one, I call it the dual test pyramid anti-pattern. There are two pyramids. What would that potentially mean? It's the same product that is being tested, just to make it explicit.
Yes, yes, yes. So accessibility, when we say, the main, as we said, the main reason was the user group that we are targeting. And when we say user group, I'm just going to the previous slide, the target population, we are just targeting that 27% and 10%, which are users with different needs. And what are these different needs? These disabilities are the different needs. We don't. Having said that, I'll tell you what, I was speaking in one more conference, and one of the myths of accessibility is it is only used for disabled users. Wherein I was doing a project for North American client, and it was like one of the accessibility requirement was there had to be an alternate text for all images present in the page. Okay, and the page was then redesigned. So one was the target users were satisfied because instead of images, alternate text was given. But on the performance side, because the large images was removed, the performance actually got improved. So eventually what happened is, even though we were targeting the disabled users, the normal users got benefited because the performance of the application as such improved. So it was a benefit for the entire community, user community. There is a thin difference. You can, correct. So when you say integrate, as in where do you want to integrate? Right. So this is where we as testers or we as sales guys have to educate the client, as in when you say this requirement falls in usability, this falls in accessibility, and what falls in accessibility is this. And for addressing this, we have certain tools and techniques that I'm going to cover. So this is the first web content accessibility guidelines, WCAG1. As I said previously, 1.0 was the first version released. There are 3 priority levels in which all this version works, that is A, AA, and AAA. So what it means in simple language is, if I say a test requirement has a priority level of A, it means that all the checkpoints should be met. Or the A will say all the requirements must be satisfied, or a compliance to priority level AA will mean all the requirements should satisfy it, and similarly in compliance to priority level AAA will mean all the requirements must satisfy the checkpoints. WCAG 2.2 was introduced in 2008, and that's the current version that is currently going on. It works on the same 3 priority levels, and it works on the 4 principles of POUR, that is perceivable, operable, robust, and understandable. So So in the previous slide, when I said there are 3 priority levels, it was A, AA, and AAA. Just to give you one, actually the example that I just said on the alternate text for each images, that is one example of a guideline which will fall under, say, perceivable. This guideline can have again many checkpoints attached to it. Like one checkpoint might be like, is there a text available for every image? Secondly, does the text available makes logical sense? Thirdly, is the text available in the same language as the application has been developed? I've listed a couple of sites here which actually will give more details on this. Moving into a couple of more guidelines on web accessibility is Section 508 and ADA. Now, Section 508 basically was an amendment to the United States Workflow Act in somewhere in 1973. It's a federal law which mandates that every electronic item which has been developed, procured, or maintained has to be accessible with people with disabilities. It again works on the same 4 principle of WCAG 2.0, and it has certain guidelines, and I've listed on the success criteria across each levels. Coming to Americans with Disability Act, this is a law which says that any website which is developed to provide services to US people in general should be accessible to people with disabilities. The entire thing that we are discussing today is for website. Yes. So the entire presentation